Thank you, Cailey, for joining me today. We're coming to the end of a Vista service year. And in your case, having worked with you through the year, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. But I think yours is an example of what AmeriCorps VISTA kind of aspires to be. So we're here today kind of just to talk about your experience of service. And I wonder if you could start us off by kind of telling us about your Vista role at your host site and kind of your experience from the beginning, like expectations that they laid out in front of you and how you kind of handled that.
Awesome. Thank you again for your kind words. But I was the Education and Outreach Coordinator for Feast of Justice, which is a choice model food pantry in Northeast Philadelphia. To take like 1 second to just like brag about my organization because I really loved working for them, but they serve about 1,600 individual households every single month. And each family leaves with an average of 50 pounds of food, 60% of which is fresh food. So that's like your meat, your dairy, your produce, stuff that's typically a little bit harder to find at other food pantries. So I was really honored to be a part of their organization. But as the education outreach coordinator, I developed all of the community programming that went beyond food to kind of create those long-term sustainable solutions to food insecurity. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth later on, but we're more than just a food pantry. We try to, build up our community and give them the resources and the skills that they need. So that's kind of what I was in charge of. The VAD from AmeriCorps and from my host site was so useful. It was like my favorite thing. It was like my Bible throughout the year. But it definitely gave me like the guidelines and the deadlines necessary to kind of guide me through the whole service year. So I was never like fumbling or wondering like what I was supposed to be doing. It was very clear cut and obvious.
Awesome. Well, I know that you were very engaged and always busy in a good way, but can you speak to um, kind of programs that you were asked to kind of enhance? I guess this is like the capacity building
Yeah.
question, but where were the holes that they were asking you to kind of fill, and I guess what projects were you kind of involved in?
As the education outreach coordinator, I kind of took on all of the community programs like as part of my project. So this was like definitely a little bit of a soul endeavor, which was really exciting because I could kind of do my own thing and like figure things out as I went. But I mainly focused on like three different aspects of community programming. One of them was like nutrition and health education. So we made it so that people could get free blood pressure screenings at each distribution. When they came in to get groceries, they could also get a blood pressure screening. As of June, we had about 200 people get blood pressure screenings throughout my time here. And then for nutrition education, I developed like a product of the month system. So we would focus on one produce item and kind of build our nutrition ed programming around that throughout the month. So we would do short, like healthy eating workshops while distribution was going on. We would do tastings, meal bundlings. But by June, we did 20 tastings. And then another aspect was doing like the long form nutrition education workshops. So this was in collaboration with the American Heart Association. We did free health and wellness classes and we hosted two different cohorts during the year that I was here. So in fall, we did like a 6 class cohort that was taught in English and Arabic. And then in spring, we did a 4 class cohort that was a little bit more involved. We had some like fun activities and stuff. And that was just taught in English at our other location. But we had 34 individual participants come out to those, and we taught about diet-related diseases and like movement and what blood pressure actually is, what diabetes is, stuff like that. So that was very exciting. And then the second thing that I focused on a lot was our 10-bed community garden. This was like really, really fun for me. This was like a passion project of mine. So I kind of developed an Feast of Justice Growers Club, which was just a group of dedicated volunteers who maintained the garden throughout the year. And then I also partnered with a different organization, Novik Urban Farm, and together we hosted Two so far, but by the end of my service term, it'll be three. Large scale like planting workshops where all the community members could come out and learn how to plant, harvest some stuff. So we had a really big spring harvest, and we're currently working on our summer crops right now. But definitely a goal of mine is to make it a little bit more like culturally relevant, have some like language access for those. But I think it was a success for my first pilot. And then the third thing that I worked on was connecting people with resources that went beyond food. So I brought in a lot of partner organizations to come and table with us. In 2026 so far, it's been like 10 different organizations that Feast of Justice had never collaborated with before. And I brought them in to connect our guests with resources. So it could be like immigration services, financial education, housing resources, benefit screening, things like that. But they would come in and do that work. And then we also had a permanent resource desk at both of our locations that we could give referrals to our guests when the organizations weren't there in person. Yeah, and then I worked a lot on social media development and inventory for our produce, although those two things like I wasn't spearheading that, but I contributed a lot to that.
Well, it sounds like a amazing synergy of outreach and education. So, so you're right there with it, and so many new things that you're bringing to your host site. But can you pinpoint or speak on any like, uh, I guess, personal growth or like skills you built through this experience as an AmeriCorps VISTA? I mean, it sounds like you had a pretty good handle on everything, but
No, I actually learned everything from this job. My job before this was also in outreach, and it was also in like environmental justice field. So I was working for my college as like the outreach coordinator for the environmental studies office. So when I got started with this, I was like, I know everything. I have all the skills, I have all the experience. And looking back, it's so funny because I feel like where I am now, I'm looking back and I'm thinking I was so bad at that job because I've just learned so much and I've developed so many skills and I've grown so much. I think the garden is like the best example, but it really does like go for all of the skills that I've learned. But I had started not really knowing anything about gardening, and then just through collaboration, through my own like personal professional development and stuff, I'm now like I have a side job gardening. I write like a article for my local newspaper on gardening. I like feel very confident in the garden now. So just things like that. And then just like building my own confidence when I'm speaking with organizations and professionals. Like I don't feel like a little college kid anymore. I feel like I can come in and say like, hey, these are the ideas that I have, and what can we do about it? So I've learned a lot. I'm very, very thankful for all the professional development this has given me.
well, and I guess well, not I guess, but congratulations. I think this is like kind of dream scenario if Vista is the right fit for you. But I've heard that you accepted a full-time position with your host site.
Yes, I'm staying on as staff, so I'm very, very, very happy.
Great. And can you, so I assume that it has something to do with what you've been doing as a Vista, but how is what's the transition from Vista to full-time um, outreach coordinator going to be like? Or how are you going to take your Vista experience and kind of um, keep pushing the envelope?
Yeah, I not like 100% sure what my position is going to look like yet, but I have a feeling I'm going to be doing a lot of the same things, but kind of in a more like coordination, like overseeing type of vibe. So, even though like we are currently limited in the direct service that we can do, there was still moments where like I would be like helping facilitate the class or like jumping out in the garden and just making sure everything's okay. And I think those kind of things are gonna kind of go down to like new vistas or new volunteers, and I can be like fully focusing on development and behind the scenes kind of work. So I think I'll still be doing like a lot of education and engagement and outreach and stuff like that, but maybe just on a level up.
Great. And I guess lastly, I mean, we've gotten to work together for the last like half of your service year, and it's been great to be your Vista leader. Um, and I was just wondering um, your opinion, I guess, on why if someone's thinking about AmeriCorps VISTA service, what's something or why do you think someone should serve if they're interested?
Yeah, AmeriCorps is definitely, it is such a privilege to be able to do this work. I would say like it's not financially realistic for a lot of people, but if you are in a position where you're able to do a service year, I just think it's like the best thing that you can do. Honestly, you're serving your community, but you're also getting your foot in the door for your professional life and your career. Um, like the last 2 years after I graduated college, I could not find a job. Like the job market was really, really bad. And it sounds like so cocky, but like I kind of knew I just needed to get my foot in the door. Like I was like, if I can just get somewhere where I can show people that I actually can develop these skills and I actually can make an impact on the community, then I'm all set. And that's exactly what happened. Like I had the privilege to do this service year and it taught me so much and it got my name out there. And now I have a full-time staff position. So if you're thinking that the job market is really bad and you're really wanting to get out of like the restaurant industry and kind of use your degree and the skills that you learned in school, like definitely, definitely take this opportunity.
Well, thank you for again taking the time to speak with me today. And I mean, amazing stuff that you've got going on. And I'm so glad that you're kind of staying in our periphery at least and I mean, your host site is very lucky to have you. So,
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that the book club accepts alums because I will still be there for sure.